I've lost been on and talked to you. Sorry about the extreme close up there for a second. I've been meaning to do this for a little while, but I've just not been feeling really great, and I just couldn't get it together enough to do this. But I figured I'd tell you what we now understand about what happened to me back in April. And where I'm at now. If you've seen any of my previous videos, and I'm going to put them together in one playlist so that you can find all of them. And you can see the whole story and the whole journey, at least as much as I managed to video. But the full story begins on April 23rd. I went to the ER because I was having a major flare for my asthma, and nothing I was able to do at home. I have a nebulizer. I tried breathing treatments. I have all of the at-home stuff that you can have for asthma, and nothing was really breaking it. So I did what you do, and I went to the ER. Well, at the ER, the doctor put me on what he called IV steroids. And then I also did a more powerful breathing treatment, and then he sent me home with a prescription for prednisone, oral prednisone. So I do what I'm told, and I take that, and I do my breathing treatments, and April 27th, I took the last dose of prednisone that I had, and it was about 11:30 at night. I took that last dose, and I went to bed after I fed the animals. Well, that next morning, I didn't wake up. I didn't make it to work. I missed my morning alarm to wake me up to go to work. Apparently, my boss was spamming my phone trying to get a hold of me. Did that for a half an hour, and he wasn't able to get a hold of me. And then my husband noticed, and he was like, "She missed work. That's not normal." And then he tried to get a hold of me. I don't always answer most other people's calls, but I will always answer my husband's calls. Hey guys, I'm glad you're joining me. And when we get done here, you can go back and watch the whole video. But yeah, this was the morning of April 28th. He comes home, he is trying to get a hold of me, and I'm not responding to any of his calls. I'm not calling him back. None of that. And I always respond to his calls. I always call him back. I'm talking about what happened to me back in April when I almost died. My husband realized there was something wrong, and he started trying to get a hold of me, and he couldn't. So about 8 a.m., yeah, I almost died back in April. So he realized there was something really horribly wrong because I wasn't responding to any of his calls. I wasn't calling him back. Nothing. So he gets a hold of his boss and says, "Hey, I need to go home and check on my wife because there's something wrong." Takes about a half hour for his boss to live there because he lives across the metro from where they work. And if you don't know, I'm in the Kansas City metropolitan area. His boss lives in Independence, which is on one side of the metro, and where they work is in Lenexa, which is completely on the other side, as far east, almost as far east as you can go. No, I've got that backwards. Independence is as far east as you can go, and then Lenexa, which is where they work, is as far west as you can go, pretty much. There's only one other municipality that's west of Lenexa. So it takes him a half hour to get to the work site. And as soon as he gets there, Colby takes off and comes home. That takes another half hour. So it's about 9 o'clock when Colby got home. And he walks in the front door. My service dog. Say hi, Jane. Say hi. Yeah, she's a good girl. She does her job very well. She's sleepy. She thinks I should be asleep. But my girl, she's going crazy because she knows there's something really bad wrong with me. And it's nothing she can fix. And she's like, oh, Daddy's home. Okay, Daddy can fix this. And she starts running back and forth from where I am in the bedroom to the front door where Colby is, and just back and forth, trying to get him to follow her to me. And when he gets back there into the bedroom, he sees, one, I'm sprawled crosswise across the bed, which I don't do. I okie dokie. I'm not even... I'm crosswise across the bed rather than lengthwise. I'm laying with my feet on one side and my head on the other. And that's one thing that I was doing that wasn't normal. I don't even know what you're talking about, my man, so... And you're throwing me off, dude. It's hard enough to keep my train of thought right now. If you knew what my brain was like right now, you would not be trying to derail my brain, because once I get derailed, it stays derailed anymore. But yeah, I was laying crosswise on the bed. I don't do that. I was also entirely unclothed. I don't ever do that. And then he starts talking to me, and I'm trying to respond back. And you have to keep in mind, I remember none of this. The last thing I remember is taking the prednisone, the last dose of prednisone, at 11:30 on the 27th. That is the last thing I know for an entire week. So everything that I'm telling you from this point until I regained awareness of the world around me is what's been told to me, what I've found through reading through my file, what my husband's told me, what my mom's told me, what the hospital staff told me. None of it is my own recollection, because I have no recollection of any of this. So this first part is what Colby has told me. And so he tries to talk to me. I'm responding back, but what I'm saying does not make sense. And only the fact that that we've been together for 15 years now. And we've been married for the last 23... no, shit. My brain is not working clearly. At least my math brain is not working. We've been married for the last 13 years. So only that allowed him to actually translate what I was trying to say from Samantha Babel into English. So Yeah, he figures out that I'm trying to tell him I want the paramedics, and he calls them and he gets them there as quickly as possible. The closest location where paramedics are stationed is about 5 to 10 minutes from our house, and they're there within about 10 minutes. Um, they got there around 9:15 because it took Colby about 5+ minutes to figure out that I was really screwed up and I really needed some help, and whatever was going on was not something he could fix. So the paramedics got there roughly 9:15 or so. They spent the next hour trying to stabilize me enough so that they could get me from my house out to the ambulance and then to the hospital. The hospital is 8 minutes from my house. And it does not take an hour to load you up and put you in the back of the ambulance. That takes a maximum of 15 minutes. I know, because I've ridden that ride before. Not by choice, but, sometimes the universe goes crazy and shit happens. But yeah, it took them an hour to get me stable enough to load me up and put me in the ambulance and get me to the ER. They tried to use friendly little handheld sugar meter. They tried that. They tried it, according to Colby, they tried it several times. And the only reading they could get on it was high. That's all it would say, is high. It wouldn't give a number. Because my blood sugar level was outside of the range that it would read. Anything beyond that range will read as either low or it will read as high. So to find out what my actual blood sugar was, they had to draw blood and send it off to the lab. When they got that number back, it was over 1,600. I think Colby said it was like 1,648 or something like that. And I don't know how many of y'all know what normal blood sugar should be and what typical high blood sugar is. Normal blood sugar should be between 100 and 150. 150 at the most. First thing in the morning, your blood sugar should be between 70 and 99. If you're a normal, healthy person. If you're a diabetic, it can be a little bit higher than that. And then high normal is around 200. And that's mostly for diabetics. If you're 300 or 400, you are in crisis. If you're over 500, you are typically starting to hit the range where you can go into diabetic ketoacidosis. That is a metabolic condition that happens when your blood sugar is too high for too long. And it affects every part of your body. It hits your heart, your liver, and your kidneys hardest. Because what DKA will do is it will cause you to dehydrate. And it will just generally mess up the entire inside of your body. They ran more blood tests after they found out what my blood sugar actually was. And my liver function was bad. My kidney function was almost non-existent. They were concerned that I forget what it's called, but it's where the inner workings of your kidneys have started to become necrotic, where the inner workings of your kidneys have died and are starting to break down. So for the better part of the first day, I was pretty close to dead. I was very almost dead. It was it's something of kind of a surprise to me that I survived that, because having read the notes from the doctors, the notes from the hospital, the note from when I was transferred from the ER to being admitted into the hospital, makes it very clear that they weren't sure if I was going to live. They really didn't know. They were not sure. But they immediately put me on IV insulin to try to bring my blood sugar down. They also immediately put me on a medication that would partially sedate me so that I would be less combative. Because when Colby was trying to get me presentable for the paramedics, because he figured I would be offended if I found out that the paramedics had seen me in my all-togethers. Really didn't care. But he was trying to think of me, and he was doing his best, and he tried to get me dressed, and he got bit really hard for his troubles. And he was my first victim that day. They were trying to avoid further victimization of people that were trying to help me. So they put me on this medication to basically chemically contain me. It's called a chemical restraint. They also had physical restraints on me because I kept trying to get up and leave the hospital because I did not have time for their bullshit. I had animals to feed and I had a job to do. So, yeah. It's like, I don't got time for this. I have a life to live. Apparently being mentally altered is an interesting experience. I don't know. I remember none of that. And apparently survival mode Samantha, kind of a toot. It's like complete asshole. Because my younger sister told a story about how her and my mom and my older sister were there just visiting me. I didn't know they were there, but they were there trying to show solidarity and just wanted to be with me while they could, because it was almost a week before the hospital staff even knew if I was going to survive, much less be okay. So they were just wanting to be with me when they could, because they didn't know how much longer I was going to be here. Because for those first few days, that was really, really iffy. In fact, for those first few days, my hospital chart said something about how I was gravely ill and I could quote unquote decompensate at any time. But this one day, apparently my sisters and my mom were there visiting me, and I was being kind of uppity. And my younger sister said something to the nurse that was in my room about how I could be kind of sassy, and apparently mentally altered survival mode me, I like that word. I grabbed it and I got as much mileage out of it as I could. Meanwhile, my younger sister's over on the side of the room where the window was, going, "Oh my God, what have I done?" I gave her ammunition, and she is slinging it at all of us. What do you do? But yeah, she accidentally gave me something to use against everybody. Oh. So yeah, the 28th was a bad day. My husband wasn't sure if I was gonna survive, but I did make his job as easy as possible. A couple of years ago, we had a conversation. I told him if I was ever incapacitated where I could not make my own medical decisions, whether I was unconscious or just not mentally with it enough to make choices, I told him if there is something that can be done to get me better, do that. However, if it is determined that there is no hope and just it's either unlikely or impossible to get me back to being somewhat myself, let me go. Don't put me on machines unless it's guaranteed that I will come off that machine again. Because I don't want to be kept alive by machines. And so he knew that. So he spent that whole first week operating with the belief that he might have to make that choice. And completely not wanting to make that choice. But one of the reasons why I married this man is because I knew if it came down to it and he had to choose whether to let me go because there was nothing that could be done to get me back, or to put me on machines and keep me alive indefinitely regardless of whether I was going to come back or not, I knew he would make the choice that I wanted made. And I knew he would make choices that I would have made if I was able to. And that whole first week, he did exactly what I told him to. He made the choices that I would have wanted made. I mean, do I like the aftermath of them? Not really. But I'm still alive, and I'm still here, and I can talk to you, and I'm relatively somewhat close to what I was before. I'm not back completely. Don't know if I will be back completely to who I was before. But, I mean, I'm some passable version of what I was before. I do have cognitive deficits that may or may not go away. They might clear up, they might not. It's not known yet. I do know that I have damage that was done to Broca's area in my frontal cortex. That's the front part of your brain. It's I forget which side it's on. But that part of your brain handles speech production. It handles short-term memory and it handles long-term memory. Now, as an autistic person, I did already have deficits with language and short-term and working memory, but they are so much worse now. But that's the thing about being in some kind of diabetic crisis, and that can be where your sugars are too low for too long, or whether your sugars go sky high like mine did. Although every medical professional that I have talked to in the last 5 months has said one of two things. I've gotten two different responses from every medical professional, everyone that has ever dealt with somebody that's been in DKA. That's diabetic ketoacidosis for those who are just tuning in. They have one. I've never heard of someone with sugars that high. That's the one main response. The other one is I've never heard of anyone with sugars over 1,000 that survived. Well, hey, guess what? I'm the odd outlier for that group of people. And so, yeah, it also means that I've survived so that I can nail that doctor that gave me the prednisone to the freaking wall. And I'm in the process of doing that. Not going to go into exactly who the doctor was. He knows who he was. The hospital knows who he was. It took him about 4 days to figure out where the prednisone that almost killed me came from. But they figured it out. And 3 things happened that is what almost killed me. 1, the steroid that I was given in the ER to treat my asthma flare was a form of prednisone. It's a very strong version of the active form of prednisone. It's called methylprednisolone, and the version I was given was IV. It's much a stronger version of prednisone than just standard prednisone. So yeah, it's called methylprednisolone because prednisolone is the active form. So that was one thing that kind of worked to screw me over. I'd never been given IV steroids before. Never. I'd done the oral steroids. I'd done the breathing treatments, including the high-end version that the ER does for you. I'd done that before, just not the IV prednisone. So I got 1 load of prednisone, methylprednisolone, IV in the ER. He sent me home with oral prednisone, which prednisone itself is the inactive version of prednisolone. Your body has to process it, and it has to go through your liver to become active. That takes between 4 and 6 hours to happen. So I took the last dose of oral prednisone at 11:30 p.m. So 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30 is when that started to hit as the active form. So we have the IV steroid, prednisolone, methylprednisolone. We have the oral steroid, prednisone, that became prednisolone. And then there's also this thing, it happens to everybody, but it is a problem for diabetics. And that's also why we take Friendly Friend. This is Lantus. Oh, I got it upside down. Oh, I had it right side up. Yeah, this is Lantus. It is a form of long-acting insulin. I also have my short-acting insulin that I take before meals. But that's the reason why we take the long-acting at night before we go to bed, to combat the 3 a.m. effect. And basically what that is between the hours of 3 a.m. and 8 a.m., your liver starts releasing some different chemicals that trigger your body to release glucose into your bloodstream. That's what allows us to wake up in the morning. Or, in my case, not wake up, because my sugars were already way too high. But yeah, so the first 3 or 4 days, they got my sugars down, and I didn't change. There was no change. About the 4th day in, which is also when they found out where the prednisone came from, their very own ER. And at that point, they were starting to look at potential damage that was done to my heart. They were starting to figure out that I was having issues with AFib, atrial fibrillation. That's where one of the atriums of your heart, that's the top half of your heart, are not functioning correctly. Instead of giving a good solid beat, it will sit there and flutter. They also found out something interesting. Don't know if it has anything to do with anything, but the right atrium of my heart is quote unquote small. Oh, medical professionals that are watching in the chat, does this mean anything? Is this something that matters in general? I don't know. I've asked the questions, and I've gotten told some half-joking responses that I'm not sure were jokes or if they were serious. But yeah, one of the atriums of my heart wasn't working correctly anymore. And they were noting some damage to one of the ventricles. One of my ventricles was showing some damage. So they were, that I know of, they ran 3 different ones after I regained awareness. But it took about 5 days for them to start seeing any changes that I might be recovering. So we've got April 28th, 29th, 30th, 1st, 2nd. So May 2nd. I was starting to show signs that I was rallying and trying to come back. But I was still gravely ill. It wasn't until, I want to say, May 4th. Yeah, Star Wars nerds, may the 4th be with you. Yeah, the 4th was with me because that's when I started to come back and start to be aware of what was going on again. First thing that I really solidly remember is them running one of those cognition tests on me. Like, who's the president? What year is it? Where are you? You know, that stuff. And who's the president? Well, unfortunately, Trump. And I think they could tell from just that reaction alone that, okay, we're dealing with someone who the front part of their brain is finally working again. Because up until that point, they were dealing with the unfiltered version of me, which apparently not terribly friendly, but very duty-driven. And at that point, they were like, okay, she is back and aware of what's going on. And I remember the next morning, they told me that they had to take me downstairs to the OR and put my now gone dialysis port in. It was anchored here and here, and this is where the main body of it was. And that whole thing is a really weird feeling because I could feel the tubes of the port up inside my neck. It's very weird, and I didn't like it, but it was made clear to me that it was necessary, and that was one of my husband's choices. And now, knowing now what I didn't understand then, because I really didn't have enough functional brain at that time to really know what was going on and really understand. But that's why you have somebody that is your medical proxy. Your parents, your spouse, those people are natural proxies. Those are the people that doctors and nurses and hospital staff will go to first. If you can't make choices for yourself, they will, if you're not married, they will ask one of your parents, if one of your parents is still alive. If you don't have any living parents, they will ask one of your siblings. You better pray that your siblings like you, or at least like you enough to make correct decisions for you. But if you're married, it is your spouse that gets to make those choices. And one of the choices that Colby made was to have what's called hemodialysis. That's what I had done. That's what this was for. To have me put on hemodialysis. The other type of dialysis, because there's two versions. There's hemodialysis and then there's peritoneal dialysis. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that because I don't really understand a whole lot about it. But with hemodialysis, there's a big machine that they cycle your blood through. They cycle it out through one side. Your port has two sides. They cycle it out through one side and then they put it back in through the other. That's why I have a place there. Where is it? Yeah. That's why I have two places here. There was a tube for the port in either vein. So there's a vein here that they had a tube in, and there's a vein here that they had a tube in. And so it pulled from here, from one vein, and then it put it back in the then it put it back in the artery. And they do that. They pull your blood out. They run it through some different baths inside the machine to clean the gunk out of your blood, the stuff that doesn't belong, defective blood cells, impurities in your blood, ammonia, excess potassium, excess phosphorus, and just stuff that your kidneys would normally process out of your body. But if your kidneys ain't working or they're not working well enough, they won't do that. And then I was told kind of what happened to me was because my kidneys stopped working, my blood turned into a kind of glue that my kidneys couldn't even think about trying to process. And that's what threw me into problems in the first place. So they took me, the first full day that I was where, they took me down first thing in the morning on May 5th and put the port in. Apparently, I'd had a port in one of my legs, in my femoral artery in one of my legs. I think it was my left leg. It's not really noted, so I don't know for sure. But they had a dialysis port in one of my legs at one point, but that clotted off and it stopped working efficiently. So they opted for putting one in up here. I think one of the reasons why they probably wanted it down where I couldn't mess with it was because at one point I was trying to pull all of my lines out. So they had to physically and chemically restrain me so that I would stop that. Oh, and I have been recently diagnosed with wonderful, fun COPD. It's a usual progression of asthma that's not fully controlled, because over time the chronic inflammation of poorly controlled asthma will cause damage to parts of your lung, and then you will develop COPD or chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. Took me a minute to pull that back up because that's a bit of a mouthful and a brainful. So that's what the coughing is byproducts of COPD. So I spent from the 4th to the 13th just getting back to myself enough that I was well enough to go home. And the last 3 days of that, I was bored. I was so bored. When you have somebody that's highly intelligent and, oh, watch TV. Yeah, TV gets you by a little bit, but it's not sufficient. And after, like, the second day of watching TV, I was over watching TV. I'd had enough. I wanted something to do with my brain. Even though my brain was not quite up to the task yet, I wanted something more than TV. And I was begging people to bring me something to do. And, I mean, my husband knew what I wanted, but he was running himself ragged, trying to take care of the animals, trying to take care of the house, trying to keep the bills paid, trying to also continue to work during this, because while this was all going on, he was the sole source of income, and he knew it. And then also, somewhere in all of that, he was trying to find time to come up and sit with me, because, well, if I didn't survive, he at least wanted to know that he'd been there as much as he could. And the doctors had somebody to ask questions of, and I mean, that it was clear that he cared and he wanted to be there as much as he could. And he did want to be there, because the first morning that I was actually able to sit up and eat breakfast, well, he came to see me on the 5th, and I really was not all that together on the 5th, because they had to sedate me to put the dialysis port in up here under my collarbone. So the 5th, I was not really all that great. And, I mean, I know I was pissy on the 4th, because I made it clear that I was hungry, and they were like, no, you're not allowed to eat. You're not allowed to drink. You have to just not. And I was really unhappy, and I made it clear that I was really unhappy. So yeah, the first day that I was actually able to eat, well, I hadn't eaten anything by mouth at all for a week. And if you've gone without eating for very long, you develop this problem that's called refeeding disorder. It's where when you start to try to eat again, your body goes, "What the hell is this? No, thank you." And it comes right back. And so for the first day or so after I started being able to eat again, it was not a joyful experience, let's just say that. I threw up more times in that first couple of days than I've thrown up in my entire life. It was bad, dude. So bad. Although I did learn some fun tricks. Fun, wonderful, useful information for you. If you're feeling nauseous and you feel like you might throw up, grab yourself an alcohol prep pad. Open that up. Hold it near your face. The smell of the rubbing alcohol does something. I don't understand exactly what it is that it does, but it does something to curb the nausea and to curb the urge to vomit up your toenails. And yes, I keep my sharps for my insulin in a container with dinosaurs on it. I keep all of my supplies in pencil cases with dinosaurs on it. Ugh. And that's because we're going for an adventure. Hang on. Oh, look, there's Jane again. Say hi, Jane. Hi, Jane. On my birthday, Colby got me this card. Dinosaur says, "Is that a candle or a meteor?" And then on the inside it says, "The party's not over until you're extinct." And then he wrote, "This year you beat extinction." So, using my diabetes supplies is helping me beat extinction. It's like, don't be like the dinosaurs. Where did I... Oh, I put it over here. So, yeah. It's kind of an inside joke that I have now shared with you. All of my 100 friends. And the random people that pop in every once in a while for a couple of minutes. But yeah, I'm currently working on beating extinction. I was on dialysis for almost 2.5 months. And I had my last dialysis treatment on June 10th. They spent 2 weeks making sure that my kidneys were going to continue keeping up with processing all of the toxins out of my blood. And then once they were sure that that was going to continue to be a thing, I had unfriendly friend, unfriendly but necessary, that was removed on June 25th. So I've been dialysis free for about 2 months now. So that's one thing. I beat acute kidney injury. I'm well on the way to having beat AFib, because I've been off of all of the heart meds that I left the hospital on. I was on a beta blocker, a blood pressure med, and then also an antiarrhythmic. The last one that I came off of was the antiarrhythmic. And I think at this point, I'm done with all of those. So I made AFib my bitch. I made acute kidney injury my bitch. And the nephrologist, that's the kidney doctor, he was not sure that I was going to get kidney function back. He didn't think that I was going to get any meaningful kidney function back. That I was probably going to require a kidney transplant. Because all of his notes, up until the last day that I was in the hospital, no signs of recovery, no signs of recovery, no signs of recovery, no signs of recovery. And then that last day, his last note in my chart was no recovery yet. One little 3-letter word that shows the beginning of hope. He was beginning to hope that I would not need a new kidney. That the kidneys I was born with were going to come back and they were going to start working properly. And with every dialysis treatment, I was having 3 a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, every week. And every time I would have a dialysis treatment, I would start producing a little bit more urine every single time. And then after, I think, the second week, my kidneys were keeping up with, it was the second week that my kidneys started to keep up with the toxins that were in my blood and the excess potassium and the excess phosphorus. So I didn't need to watch my potassium level that closely, and I could kind of sneak off on what I was doing to control my phosphorus level. Incidentally, if you have problems with having high phosphorus, besides needing to watch how much phosphorus you're taking, pardon me, how much phosphorus you're taking in, you can take a standard dose of Tums every time you eat, and you have to take it with your meal. Let's see, where is my Tums? Aha. I like these. But as long as you're taking at least 750 milligrams, that will bind any excess phosphorus that you're eating. But you have to take it with your meal while the food is still in your stomach, and you have to take it with every meal. So we're talking roughly 3 times a day. And also, if you're having issues with food tasting like cardboard, which happens a lot with people that are having issues with kidney function, magnesium. Get vitamins that have... No, not magnesium. Zinc. Get multivitamins that have extra zinc in them. And that will help your taste buds start working again. Because apparently, your kidneys do some really interesting things besides filtering the nasty crap out of your blood. 1, they run red blood cell production. Because your healthy kidneys will send signal to the bone marrow in your long bones. That's your forearms and your femurs. It'll send a chemical signal to those parts of your body and say, hey, produce red blood cells. We need more. Make more. That's what keeps you from going anemic. So one of the problems that you will start to have when your kidneys aren't working correctly is you will start to become anemic. And so that's one of the things that they monitor. They monitor your phosphorus level. They monitor your potassium level. And they also monitor your red blood cell count. For a while, I was very anemic. And when I'd go in for my dialysis treatments, they would give me a replacement version of the chemical that your kidneys are supposed to release to stimulate red blood cell production. And my brain is flagging on me. I'm sorry. And it took a little while to get my red blood cell levels up to what they deemed to be acceptable for someone who is experiencing kidney issues. They wanted me above 10. I don't know 10 what. I don't remember, and I don't have the piece of paper in front of me. But they wanted it to be above a 10 on the scale, and starting out, I was at a 7.7. And when your red blood cell level is that low, you are dizzy, you feel weird, and you feel tired all the time. And you're cold all the time. I also discovered what it feels like when your blood pressure goes too low. Because that's what caused me to go off the blood pressure meds. It pushed my blood pressure too low. Thankfully, I was at dialysis when it happened, because all they had to do was pump a little bit of extra fluid back into me and bring my my vessel pressure back up. It got down to 90 up for the top number, and that you don't want that. That's not good. That bad. And what that feels like when it goes that low, you feel weird and nauseous, and you generally feel kind of like you're underwater, because visual stuff all starts to get blurry and weird, and everything that you're hearing is muffled. So that was the beginning of going off those meds. I'm just thankful that I'm still here and that I'm still some version of me. Unfortunately, I have not been able to go back to work. I haven't been able to work at all since April 28th. And so I have filed for SSI disability and Social Security income to make up for the money that I am not currently helping to bring in. It was not a choice I made lightly. It's a choice I wish I didn't have to make, because I'm only 47. It's not a choice I like. And when all this happened, I was in the process of starting up craft business. But that's been long delayed because it's taken me this long to get somewhat back to normal. I found out last Friday that I absolutely can't go back to the job that I was doing. because it's not safe for me, it's not safe for my client. My memory and my cognitive function just aren't there. My balance and my ability to actually help him with the things he needs help with, I can't do it. I tried and I can't do it. And my cognitive function right now is not good enough for me to be able to go to an office job, because I will lose track of what I'm saying. I don't know how many times I've lost track just during the hour that I've been talking to you guys. But it's happened multiple times. I don't know if it was obvious or not, but I recognize it because I live in my body and I deal with my brain. And I just know that I am not where I was, and I'm not where I want to be. I also know that I've lost enough where it's obvious to somebody that knows what they're looking at. I tried to do a job interview last Friday, and the person that was interviewing me recognized that my mental acuity just is not there. So I don't want to say I can't go back to work, but I don't think I can. Will I ever get back what I've lost? I don't know. Nobody can tell me that, because not enough is understood about why certain people get back more than others. I mean, we know how the brain works, we know how the synapses work and all of that, but why some people recover more than others, why some people don't recover, that's not something that's well understood. So will I get back what I've lost? I don't know. Will I at some point in the future be able to work at least an office job? I don't know. So for the foreseeable future, I've filed for disability. I have representation, which that is something that's always a good idea when you're going through a disability case. Yes, it will probably take a while before a decision is reached, but I'm filing on the basis of the fact that I am diabetic. I am currently insulin dependent. I have experienced severe diabetic ketoacidosis to the point where it has damaged my body enough that working is impossible. Also, my autism and my dyslexia are things that I can file because of. The AFib and all of the other stuff that happened because of the DKA. So I expect that cognitive function tests will be part of the evaluation process. I expect that a psych eval will probably be part of the process for evaluating me. They will be looking at my hospital records and my doctor's records and all of that. And it's going to be a long battle to deal with. Not that what I've gone through so far hasn't been a long battle. I wish I hadn't had to go through any of it, but, when you encounter a doctor that just wants to do the standard course of treatment and not tailor it to the fact that you're diabetic, and they know you're diabetic. And don't take into account that, hey, this can put you into diabetic ketoacidosis, because it fucks with normal people. In diabetics, it will always spike your sugars. And it is not uncommon for it to cause okay. Cooperate, Rain. It is not uncommon for it to cause diabetic ketoacidosis. It is not rare. And this is something that that doctor should have known. And that is why he's going to get slapped with a malpractice lawsuit, because he should have known. He swore an oath to do no harm, and I have been fucking harmed. I have at least temporarily lost the ability to work, maybe permanently. I am 47. And I cannot work because of this. And I cannot return to the job that I love because of this. I love my job. I love my client. I love his family. And because this happened, I cannot do that job anymore. I know it. They know it. They don't want to admit it. Or at least they don't want to say it out loud to me. But we all know. We all know. And now I'm going to ugly cry. Now I'm ugly crying because because this is hard. And because this sucks. It sucks so much. This was never something that I ever thought that I was going to have to deal with, at least not now. My father always had issues with his blood sugar going too low because he'd take his meds and then he wouldn't eat. And then we'd have to have the paramedics out at least once or twice every month. It got to the point where cat fuzzies. It got to the point where the firefighters and the paramedics, they didn't even have to ask which room he was in, because they knew. If he was upstairs, he'd be in the bedroom. He'd be in his mom's room, and if he was downstairs, he'd be in his office, and they knew where he was going to be. All they had to ask was upstairs or downstairs, because they were there so much. Dad didn't really have any problem with his sugars going too high, because, again, he would take his meds and then not eat. A lot of it was because he was also autistic, he was also dyslexic, and with autistic people, If we're involved in something and we are hyper-focusing on that thing, and we're tuning everything else out, we're not going to notice that we're hungry. We're not going to notice that we're thirsty. That we might even lose track of whether or not we need to go to the bathroom. Because when we're doing the thing, whatever it is, that's what matters. Nothing else matters. So he'd cause himself those problems. I mean, I understand that because, I mean, I've done it many times in the last... It's happened a lot in the last 2.5 months. But yeah, you're seeing how hard this part of it is. Where you're good enough to know that you're not good enough. Where you're better enough to know that you're not where you were, and you don't know if you're going to be where you were ever again. And how heartbreaking and how painful and how hard that is. Especially knowing that you're 47 and you might not be able to work ever again. And you might be on SSI disability for the rest of your life. And it's hard and it's painful and it hurts and it sucks. And I'm in this place now because I got a doctor that was either stupid or lazy or both. That doctor broke his oath to do no harm. And he harmed me. Whether he meant to or not doesn't matter. He knew the consequences of the medication he was giving me. At least I figure he should have known. Because if I can find out by doing a simple Google search, side effects of prednisone on diabetics, if I can use those search terms and find out, he goddamn well should have known. And he is going to pay me for lost wages. He is going to pay my medical bills. Not just what's owed, but what they cost. The full cost. Which, that is... Where is the fun phone? And I'm losing my shit. Yeah, okay, there it is. I'm absolutely not organized tonight. I'm normally way more organized than this. It's important for my brain to cooperate here. And yet my brain is currently flying the middle finger right in my face. Oh goody, it's not on this phone, it's on the other phone. It's on the phone I'm using. Well, it's my current medical costs are in excess of $450,000. By the time all of the medical bills are finished coming in, and they are still coming in, by the time they all finish coming in, it's probably going to be close to $500,000. And you better fucking believe me that he's going to pay every dime. I'm not talking about just what I owe. I'm talking about total. Before insurance. He's going to fucking pay all of it. I've found some decent lawyers that operate here in the Kansas City area that were recommended to me by somebody that I trust. And yeah, he's going to pay. He's going to pay for everything I lost. He's going to pay for my pain and suffering. He's going to pay for my fucking husband's pain and suffering. Because Colby had to make those choices. He had to live for over a week not knowing if his wife was going to live. He had to live for over a week not knowing if I was going to be a vegetable or not. Not knowing if I was going to become me again. Oh, it was just a week. When you're dealing with all of that, a week feels like fucking forever. And it wasn't just that week that when he didn't know if I was going to live or if I was going to be okay, if I did live. It wasn't just that week. It was the next 3 months after that, too. Having to take me to dialysis every other day. Not sure if I was going to need a kidney transplant or not. Not knowing if I was going to be on dialysis indefinitely or not. Not knowing if I was actually going to regain kidney function. I mean, I've been here at Mom's house since May 14th. Because May 14th, I got released from the hospital May 13th. And I got home that afternoon. And I did okay that day and that evening. But I realized pretty quickly on May 14th that I could not be alone by myself. I could not be at my house by myself. Because I was too weak and I could not take care of myself. And then around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I fell. And I was too weak to get up on my own. And I spent 2 hours knowing I couldn't get up. I'd left my phone in the bedroom. I was in the front half of the house. I couldn't even call for help. It wasn't until I remembered that my laptop was where I could grab it, and I started using that to try to get some kind of help, trying to contact my mom, trying to contact my husband. I got on the I got on my Facebook and I posted on my Facebook that I needed help, that I was down and I couldn't get up, and I did everything. I spent 2 hours doing everything I could think of. Couldn't get up. Couldn't call for help myself. Alone and stranded inside my own house. Finally got a hold of my husband. My husband got a hold of one of our neighbors. And she came and she let the firefighters in so they could help me get up. And she came in, she asked me how I was doing, what she needed to do for me. She'd already called the first responders. She'd called 911 to get people to come out to help me get up and make sure I was okay and everything. But she came in and she checked on me. And then where'd they go? Goober dogs have wandered off. Hello, Goober dog. Janie, come. Come. Up. Hey. Up. Up. Yes, Goober dog. Hello, Goober dog. What are you doing? Mama, why are you awake? You should be asleep. Why are you awake, Mama? You should be sleeping. I know. Mama's not sleepy, though. But she put the silly dogs in their crates back in the bedroom so that the first responders could come in and do what I needed them to do. First, they came out and helped me get up off the floor. And then after I was up and I sat in my husband's chair for a little while, because that's where they put me after they got me up. I realized that I was not okay and had to call the paramedics out to take me to the hospital again. And guess who I got? Again. Dumbass doctor that almost killed me. You'd better believe that I was highly suspicious of every medication he wanted to put me on, of what he sent me home with. You better fucking believe it. And next time I go into the ER, if I go into that ER again and I get him again, anybody but you. I do not want you. I want somebody else. I don't care who else. Anybody else. And I don't care how long I have to wait. Because I will not give him the opportunity to harm me again. I will not. Because what I have been through is pure hell, and I still have a lot of hell left to go. I don't know if I will ever be out of hell. I want to be. I'd like to be. I want to be able to work again. I like working. I like my job. I like my client and his family. My job makes me feel useful and important. And And right now I don't feel useful and I don't feel important. And this afternoon I had to, as part of the disability process, the paperwork that they make you fill out on your most recent job, I had to go through all of the things that I used to be able to do, that I could do 5 months ago, that I cannot do anymore. And why I cannot work anymore. And I had to go through all of that for an hour and a half. Because that's what the paperwork, the questionnaire required. I know it's not easy to watch me talk about this because it upsets me because, I mean, wouldn't you be upset? Wouldn't you be upset if this was you or your wife or your daughter or your husband or your father that this happened to? Wouldn't you be upset? And if you say you wouldn't be, you're either lying to yourself or you don't understand. And neither one of those things is my fault, nor is it my problem. That's an issue you have to solve for yourself. I will survive. I will get through this. I've already come a long way since April 28th. I am still here. I told death to kiss my ass again. Because I've done that multiple times throughout my life so far. First time was before I was a year old. There's just been so many times that Death tried to take my ass off the playing board and I told him fuck off. And I've told him to fuck off once again. It's like, no. No, I don't want to. I can't leave my husband. He can't survive without me. That's not bragging, because that's not something to brag about. Well, actually, maybe not can't. Doesn't want to. Because he could figure it out. He's a smart man. He could figure it out. He could make it happen. But he doesn't want to. Because for reasons I can't fathom, that crazy jackass thinks that I'm amazing. He thinks I'm worth something. I don't understand it. I don't understand why he picked me in the first place. I don't understand why he continues to pick me. I don't know. I don't know why, I just know that he does. So I had to stay here and I had to come back for him. And I know on some level during that week, he had to have been begging me to come back. And that's why I did. Because the same way his love baffles me, my love baffles him. He doesn't understand why I love him so much. Why I'd do anything for him. Why I do everything for him. I came back for him. Till death do us part. Not yet, buddy. You're stuck with me for a while longer, babe. I love you so much. And I know you'll watch this when you see it. Because you watch everything I put out. And I don't understand that either. But I don't need to. The thing that I do understand, the thing I need to understand is that you love me. You love me that much. You love me enough to get up every day and continue to choose me. And I want you to know that choosing you, it's never been a choice. It's been something that was meant to happen. Finding you, meeting you, connecting with you, that whole first day, that whole first month. The last 15 years. We've been poor. We've barely had 2 dimes to scrape together, 2 pennies to scrape together at one point. We've been homeless. We've fought our mental health struggles together. We continue to fight our mental health struggles together. Nobody can make me laugh the way you can, baby. Not anybody. And nobody else would have been able to figure out what I was trying to ask you to do. Nobody would have been able to figure that out. Crypto, knock it off. Yeah, this is the shit that got you in trouble the last time you were dicking around. Go to sleep. I swear to God. Animals, not much different from human children. Really, really not. So not. Hey, you're little idiots over here getting into shit again. Gonna end up with another case of angry lung. Putting his face where it doesn't belong. But no, baby, I love you to the edges of the universe and back. I love you forever. I love you because of who you are and sometimes in spite of it. I love you because no matter how mad you get at me, you still choose me. Even when I've made you mad as hell, you still choose me and you still come back and you can be ass deep in your own alligators and you're still trying to make me laugh and make me feel better. And I do the best I can for you. Oh, someday, some way I'm going to figure out how to pay you back for all of this. For saving my life, for keeping me here, for making all of the horrible choices you had to make for this to happen. For this to have not ended differently. But we're still here and we can keep trying. We have the rest of our lives to do that with. And for me, the rest of our lives almost ended 5 months ago. And it was because of you that it didn't. So thank you, my love. Thank you, Mastor. My heart. Know that you are always enough. That I will love you always. That you are amazing. And that you will always be my Superman. Well, I mean, we got your crypto right here. Crypto! What are you doing, Turkey Buzzard? Come here. Crypto. Yeah, he's a silly thing. What are you doing? What are you doing? Say hi to the people. Say hello, people. I'm a cute, ornery little beagle mix. Oh, really? No, you're not going to go back there, sir. Fine, go get a drink. Go get a drink. Go on. But I love you and you amaze me every day. Never stop. Never stop being the man I know you are. And for all the rest of you, you are all also enough. And I will also love all of you forever. You are smart. You are amazing. You are good at your own unique things. Oh, you don't know what you're good at yet? Well, go experiment with some shit and try and figure it out. Because everybody's good at something. Maybe you're not the best student. Okay, that's not your thing. Maybe you like math. Maybe you like science. Maybe you're like me and you like to play with string. I mean, I've got a few different things that I do with string. I crochet with it. I braid it. I use it to stick pieces of fabric together, to put pretty patterns on fabric. Maybe you're like me and that you're good at that. But everybody has their thing. Maybe you know people and you're good at people. And that's your thing. Once you figure it out, once you understand it, wrap your arms around that thing and love on it as much as you can. Because that's what makes you special. That's what makes you, you. We are all unique in our own way, regardless of whether you have an autistic brain, a dyslexic brain, an ADD or ADHD brain, or whether your brain is standard issue. We are all amazing in our own way. And I think all of you are beautiful. And you'll go be your own Superman today. Go help somebody. Open a door. Hold a door. Tell somebody you really like their shoes or that shirt or those pants make their butt look amazing. Actually, I told my husband that today because he wasn't having a good day. So I embarrassed him a little bit in public and told him he had the most amazing ass I'd ever seen. And I also told him he was the most amazing ass that I've ever seen. But when you really love somebody, you can do that shit. Especially when they really love you back. And I know he really loves me. Because everybody says that when he wasn't sure whether I was going to live or not, and he wasn't sure if I was going to be me again, he was the biggest, most beautiful disaster anybody'd ever seen. Because when you really love somebody, that's how you get. So yeah, I know he loves me. He's more than proved it. He didn't ever have to prove it to me, but everybody else saw the man that I see every day. So yeah, go out and make somebody else's day awesome. Or if you can't make it awesome, make it a little bit less crappy. Because you never know what holding a door open for somebody, saying hi, asking them how they are, and meaning it. Hi, how are you today? Oh, I'm fine. No, I mean, really, how are you? That makes a difference. Showing genuine care and concern makes a difference. So go do that for somebody. Something small. Something meaningful. Even if it isn't meaningful to you, as long as it's meaningful to the other person, that's what matters. So I'll talk to you again later. I love y'all. And that is the most glorious thing about love. You don't have to know somebody to love them. And when you share love, it grows. Love connects, hate divides. So the more love you can spread in this world, the more we connect everyone to each other. Maybe sometime I'll tell you about the magic of connection. Yeah, I think I'll do that. But not today, because it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I really should get some sleep. I love you guys. Bye.